Now, bureaucrats in Brussels spent over €600 million to boost the European Union's image in 2014. That's according to a line-by-line budget check by Eurosceptic organisation Business for Britain. The bloc splashed out on thousands of videos, publications and info campaigns, but they didn't always get the hope they hoped for.
This summer, if you are fortunate enough to have a holiday by a beach, remember, the European Union played a part in keeping your bathing water safe and clean.
The European Union is helping countries and businesses to work as a team.
Much has already been achieved. The European Union significantly contributed to these achievements.
Many countries are on the same track, but Europe is clearly leading the way.
Well, the EU's spending on self-promotion has, as you can possibly imagine, sparked quite a bit of anger online.
The EU isn't working, but in 2014 they spent over £500 million in self-promotion, especially targeting children. The games they play with our money.
So that's what the EU spends taxpayers' money on. Self-promotion and indoctrination.
Almost losing my will to live. EU self-promotion budget reaches €664 million in 2014.
It's propaganda to make people support the European Union and trying to influence the political process, ranging from targeting children in schools with biased literature, which only represents one view and is supportive of the European Union, and of course its quest to centralise power in the EU. And this is using the taxpayer funds. It's an abuse of taxpayers' money, and it's interfering in all levels of society. That is really quite inappropriate, and there should be better ways of spending this money decided by democratically elected people in an independent nation state, not by the European Union.
Well, Robert Halds, the director of the Bruges Group think tank, believes it's an abuse of taxpayers' money. Now, just to compare, the amount of money the EU spent on patting itself on the back could have helped prevent more than 20,000 French farmers from going bankrupt. Or it could have eased the burden of student loans for over 130,000 people. Well, Brussels also spent just €378 million on preventing HIV/AIDS in the last 12 years. That's about half what it shelled out for in advertising itself last year. The Russian basketball team is in real danger of missing the 2016 Olympics. The sport's governing body says it will be banned from competing if the Russian Basketball Federation doesn't sort out certain legal issues in time. Well, hoping to come to the rescue is former NBA star Andrei Kirilenko, who's running to become the sport's new head in Russia. Well, Kirilenko is an NBA veteran. He's played in the US for many years. He won gold in the 2007 European Championship with Russia's national team. And he heads up a charity that helps children and people with disabilities partake in sport. Kirilenko told Ewan O'Neill why he thinks he's right for basketball's top job in Russia.
I was raised in Russian basketball, and I spent about 27 years in the basketball itself. So at this point, I finished my career as a player, but it's a great opportunity for me to continue to help basketball in Russia, just in a little different option for me as a president rather than being a player on the floor.
Has the anti-Russian sentiment prevailing in Western politics and the media affected the sports world in any way, do you think, basketball in particular?
Sometimes politics gets in the way of the sport, but you know, if you take a look at all the games, the competitions around, it's not the right way. Like you've seen the 1980 Olympics or 1984, it doesn't do any good. You know, when the strongest athletes cannot compete against each other, it shouldn't be like that. You know, I think it's a great opportunity for the sport itself to be a great connector between the countries, and that's why sports should be free of politics. So, you know, that's what we're fighting for.
Well, let's talk about something that is good, your charity work. What exactly is the Kirilenko Kids Foundation doing? And do you feel that it is making a solid difference?
I started my foundation about 10 years ago, and we have 3 different directions. We help kids in the hospitals, we help orphanages, and we help sports schools. And it was a great run. You know, I'm very happy with our accomplishment, and I hope we can keep continue doing what we're doing.
The US says it will pull its anti-air missiles from Turkey. And apparently, it could be down to a row between Western countries and Turkey about who the main threat in the region really is. RT.com breaks that story down for you. And while you're there, this koala gave chase to a dairy farmer in Australia. Its intentions were purely heart-melting, though. Take a look at the video and discover why for yourself. A jihadist preacher has been allowed to stay in Britain despite his extremist views. The Yemeni-born imam, known only as FM, has been identified as a threat to national security and has been denied British citizenship. But the UK government still can't deport him. RT's Anastasia Churkina is following the story.
Fighting extremism both at home and abroad is a priority for the British government.
We must be clear. The root cause of the threat we face is the extremist ideology itself.
But thanks to their own laws, officials are often stuck when it comes to turning words into actions. Take the example of a Yemeni-born 50-year-old jihadist preacher based in northern England. He was denied British citizenship on the basis of having extremist views. Identified only as FM, he fought and lost his bid for citizenship for over a decade, leaving the British taxpayer with a legal bill in the tens of thousands. He's also reportedly been living on benefits since moving to the UK in the 90s.
He preached extremist Muslim and anti-Western views. FM has been a supporter of jihad.
He has openly claimed a historic association with Osama bin Laden and/or sympathy with him.
But despite all that, the man still gets to stay and live in the UK. The Home Office, which refuses to comment on individual cases, can't deport the imam. Why? Because that would be a violation of human rights. According to one conservative UK-based think tank, as many as 28 foreign-born terrorists and suspects have been able to successfully rely on the safety cushion of the Human Rights Act to avoid deportation to their home country, because they could face mistreatment there.
There is an old saying that the law is an ass, and in this particular case it certainly is an ass. It makes no sense, it's irrational, it has no logic to it, and it certainly doesn't conform to any understanding or interpretation of justice. The vile ideology subscribed to by bin Laden and his followers, which is a foundation for the ideology of ISIS, has no place in the civilized world.
But that's not all. Just recently, a man carrying an ISIS flag outside the British Parliament, just days before the anniversary of the 7/7 terror attacks and a week after the Tunisia attack that killed 30 Brits, was able to walk free. Police decided his actions were within the law. This much to an indignation of the British public, who took to social media to point out the double standards. An ISIS flag is good to go, but those displaying the St. George's Cross, an English flag, have on a handful of occasions been forced to remove it to avoid offence or violation of equality laws. Anastasia Churkina, RT, London.
An update for you on our breaking news from Thailand's capital, the deadly bomb explosion that occurred in Bangkok in the last couple of hours or so. Local media there say the number of people killed in that blast has climbed to 27. Up to 80 others have been injured, the majority of them thought to be tourists from China. Police in Thailand swiftly defused then 2 other unexploded devices that were found near the scene of the blast. The authorities say the explosion was a terrorist attack and that they were targeting tourists. Of course, when more developments emerge, we'll bring you them here on RT International. Your next update from me will be in about 36 minutes' time. Until then, political commentator and renowned philosopher Noam Chomsky discusses the crises in Yemen and Ukraine. It's going underground.